Hey guys, it's Andy here again. We'll go over, I finally finished revision 8, board number 3, I believe. I think this is the third completely new one I've ever built. But yeah, it's fully built. I'm quite happy with it. Had a bunch of paperwork that printed off for it since I never got it from the manufacturer, which was a little odd. But yeah, just basically the instructions that came off of the AliExpress, advertisement or sales page. Then a few print offs. I was able to get the BMS app for the Android phone. Way that they were able to get it so it's up to 18S, I believe. And then I had to write my own wiring diagram. It's kind of messy. Actually, it goes this way. So this is just for my own reference while I was wiring it up. The phone app, big thank you to Fire on the Discord DIY group. So I have the app running. You'll see it looks like that. It's just called BMS. You open it. And this is just my old phone. It's completely wiped of any data. So a lot of people have concerns because, this is just an APK file that the company sends to you in a zip folder. So this is the program. And there was a bunch of stuff to getting it to work, which was, it took a little bit of help, but I really big thank you to all the guys on the DIY Discord group for helping me out with it, especially Fire for getting me it. It was funny, I message the seller, and like 12 hours later, I don't get any response. Fire, he messaged them within 15 or 30 minutes or 1 hour, I'm not sure, it was very little time at all. They had sent him the file, so... Hey, whatever, right? So that's what, those groups are for, right? So anyways, yeah, get all the settings. This is very different from the other app that I was using in previous videos. So these are the settings that I went with. And, they're very conservative, as you can see. I only charge it up to 4 volts and down to 3. So because it's a Powerwall and it's very conservative, so let's see, just in case you're curious of the settings, there's a lot of settings. After a while you just kind of give up, but kind of confusing. But I also for the balancing circuit, it was originally at 180 milliamps for the balancing circuit. Well, I put it down to 150. Just for safety, because the other BMS, if any of you saw the Facebook posts and stuff, let's see if you can see that. You can see the burnt out parts. So SMV capacitor short-circuited. Let me double check. So I'm obviously quite paranoid now after that happened, but basically off the Facebook group, Carl said it's probably the SMD capacitor failing as a short, and then it killed the diode as well. So that's what he figured it was. So these groups are invaluable, right? It's always good to be in these groups, even if you don't like Facebook. The big thing about this app is when you first get it, so you go to connect, and it won't show up. So this is the device, BMS Ant, right? It wasn't displaying at all. So the trick is, this is Android 8.0, right? So any of them will work, but basically you have to go into the settings and then go to Bluetooth, and you have to connect to the Ant BMS, right? It'll show up in here, but it won't show up in the app. So you have to first connect to the device using Android settings under Bluetooth, and the password is 1234. Or sometimes it could be 0000, but it's probably 1234. So first you connect through here, then you would go to this, and then you would click connect, and it would show up, and you click it, and then you have to type in the password right here, right? So you have to type in the password 1234 and hit confirm. Don't, new password, do not do that. Do not put anything in the new password field, okay? So yeah, and then you hit confirm, and then it'll allow you to connect. Now the weird thing, I was having two separate BMS ants show up, and one of them will require a password in order to connect to, the other one won't. It's the one with the password that you have to connect to, but you'll figure it out. But anyways, that's just a quick little note with it. And then with settings, like I said, you know, you might know better than me. If anyone watching the video knows proper good settings for Powerwall for this BMS, you know, please comment. I'd greatly appreciate it, because there are so many settings, and there's this really weird one right here. Look at this: total pressure under voltage protection, or total pressure over voltage protection, total pressure under voltage protection. If anyone knows what that means, please let me know. The biggest change is 150 milliamps instead of 180. And I changed a bunch of other ones to be very conservative, designed specifically for my board. Now obviously this BMS, it's a 320 amp BMS. It's like, these breakers are 40 amps, right? So that's obviously, the BMS is overkill, but I mean, hey, I could, worst case scenario, I could just resell the BMS or something for someone else or whatever. But I really wanted, the difference in price was like 20 bucks between, like, you know, I'd prefer, I think with this setup, I think I'd prefer like a minimal of 60 amp or preferably probably 80 amp BMS, because these breakers are 40 amps, right? But I mean, with a price difference of between $20 and $40, and it was like 120 or something dollars for the BMS, it was like, you know what, I'm interested to see what a 320 amp BMS even looks like, or how it functions. So that's what my thinking was for that. And we'll go in closer. On the display board, this is an optional part of it. If you don't get the display board, all you get is this like red and black wire that comes from the BMS, and then you could just string it up to an on-off switch like I did with my old Powerwall. But anyways, with this one, so you can hold that button. There's two buttons here, and that's it. And then there's the power wires, and then there's the signal wires going to the BMS. The power wires just go to positive and negative, but whatever. But I thought I'd just show this. So when you first get one of these BMSs, it's going to be 16S or whatever. It's going to be at the max, so you have to get the app installed, and you have to change the parameters to whatever, you know, whatever configuration your batteries are at, right? But anyways, so it's got this. This is what it always shows up as first, and then it'll show all the different voltages. Oh, you can actually see the screen better on the camera than you can in real life. This is really hard to read for me, but for you, I can see it's clear as daylight. So that's strange. Yeah, I can't read these numbers. But if I look at the camera, I can read the numbers. That's weird. So it's kind of interesting how they decide to do the wiring, right? So in order to do 7S, you don't attach, you know, pins 7 through 13. So that's why 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 are actually, well, some of them are showing up voltages, right? Isn't that weird? Even 12 is showing 1 volt. Sketchy, but whatever, right? That's what you pay for. Next time I'm going to buy an Electrodactys BMS. He's Canadian, so, you know, I should be buying. And I really like his quality of work. I really do. It's nice. But anyways, this is the main screen that, you know, you could leave on. I'm going to try and figure out a way to, like, lower the brightness of this screen. It's way too bright, in my opinion. Like, way too bright. Or a way to turn it on and off so that you can still see, but I don't know. Anyways, this is about the main, you know, the main display. So this is neat. Just quick data. Now do note this is an optional part of the BMS. You don't, you know, you can buy it separately or not have it. So the sensors, the temperature sensors I already did test. and I can easily show you there. You see it'll rapidly rise, and then temp 1 is also connected. I could do that one. So you see they do react quite quickly. They're even wrapped in shrink tubing. So you see even you know, my finger's body heat is transferring to the sensor quite quickly. So that works good. And then we're back at the main screen. So just tells us basic information. Kind of nice. I just wanted it right. This is another prototype board, but again, we'll go into the other parts of this board. All right. So we've got this guy. It's a little bit updated from the black one that I have on my old Powerwall. So press this button and all it does is cycle through the different chemistries. That's confusing. Now I don't know what to think. The labels here and then which ones show up where do not coordinate. Okay, whatever. You know, you get what you paid for. This thing was cheap. I'd say it's worth having on your wall. You can also do balancing with it. But anyways, yeah, just cycle through different cells and, you know, total, max, min, and even shows which cell it is. And then max and min, it shows that 2S and 6S are, you know, have problems. And then we're back at it. And then if you hold down mode, it now says discharge. Discharge max min. Discharge. Discharge max and min. That's strange. If only there was a manual for this thing. Well, you get what you pay for, right? And then for the next one, right, a lot of us are familiar with this unit. It's been around for a long time. Pressing the button once, right, it turns off the lit up display. Holding it down, you can set the max and mins of voltage and something else. But, I mean, you don't really need to mess with it. It's just a quick reference to see what's happening, how much amperage is being drawn. But technically for these walls, you definitely, like, if you have that display over there, you don't need this, right? But this consumes less power and it's more reliable, so you could have that. But you technically don't need the display, and you don't need this blue meter, or a combination of either or. You could just get rid of this altogether and just trust the BMS completely. And honestly, that might be a better option. It would remove a lot of extra, you know, extra nonsense here, but it's not that big of a deal. So, but the wiring is pretty simple with this whole board. See, this blue guy, he has his own wiring harness right here, right? And there's even a black wire because I didn't have a large enough, right? This is only a 7S. See, it's now off. This is an 8S, but you only have to connect as many as you need to. So it works for up to 8S, but it doesn't have to be. So I had to have a ground pin. I just used an old computer pin for like a USB cable or whatever. Right, these little guys here. Alright, just a single pin one. It's good to have a lot of junk lying around your garage. A lot of old parts. But anyway, so I have that wiring harness, and then I have the BMS has two hidden behind this piece of wood. It has 2 wiring harnesses, right? Because it's like 18S. So, you know, this soup of wires. Now, a lot of people would ask, okay, like, why didn't you trim all the wires down? Why did you have this rat's nest here? You could have neatly trimmed them all down. Yes, I could have, but what if I don't want this, right? We've already stated that technically this is extremely overrated for the system. So, you know, there's a very high chance that I won't even have this BMS in this board in the future. Now, I also have a time lapse of soldering it up and stuff. There's a lot of parts that are not in the time lapse, a lot of stages, because like, honestly, it's a lot of work. It was a lot of work, and, you know, as a test, I just wanted to see if the time lapse would even work or how it would look filming it. So it was interesting, but yeah, it's kind of weird watching yourself in like high speed, you know, working over several days period, and yeah. But anyways, it's working now. So the next stage, now that I know it's working, is to then transfer it over and replace the one over there. Oop. Over here. All right. So this one, remember the BMS, the whatever 60 amp BMS, it cooked, so I had to put this old one back on. I think it's a 50 amp BMS, I can't remember, but it seems to be working okay. But again, there's, I put tape on here and I was trying to figure out what was wrong, and basically that was the whole push to make this new wall, is because the real problem is there's a lot of cold welds in my gun wire. So this stuff right here, right, 30 AWG. This is what I could buy recently. I couldn't find any more of that Remington gun wire, which is too bad. So I bought all these different ones to test out. So that was the real problem. You see all this tape down there, especially there's tape. There's a big issue here with cold welds. There's also something going on here with cold welds. Like I use a multimeter and I would test it all out, and I don't know what's going on there. The only explanation is there's a cold weld, but there are, like, when it's running and if it gets hot at all, man, the voltage differentials between, like, it's all one wire technically, but the voltage differential will fluctuate wildly on even just the same wire. So I was like, okay, this is not good at all. And yeah, so this is the old one. And you see this is an old version of this unit here, right? So type, see, it's actually far different than it looks on film, but yeah, this is the old version. And I'll just take this one apart and I'll fix the back end, and I'll put the 214 wire in there as, like, as a bus bar or spinal cord for each one of these. So it's like 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 6. I'll have to solder in 6 of them, or maybe I'll just completely redo everything, redo the 30 AWG wire in it, and put the 214 kind of spinal cord in it. But I've also, if you see, I've also removed the charging bolt, the BMS and minus being separate, because it's a 320 amp BMS, so you no longer need a bypass. I think the bypass is completely pointless, now that it's a reliable, good BMS, supposedly. A lot of people have told me they use them heavily and have never had an issue. I've gotten rid of this stupid cigarette lighter power system. It works great, but a lot of heat build up. If I can inject a video where I was filming with my infrared camera and see the heat build up. And the way I fixed the heat build up, because it was resistance, is I used this stuff right here. I used dielectric grease. So on this new build, this dielectric grease, you just buy it at Canadian Tire, whatever place, right? Automotive is what it's automotive. It's used for spark plugs and stuff. But anyways, you put that on all over it, and then you put it in, and it solves that high resistance heating problem. But once I put the new Powerwall in, since there's no cigarette lighter, this was a bad idea. I shouldn't have done this at all, but I was testing ideas, right? So this unit here, once I replace the Powerwall, this box here, I'm gonna have to take it apart, remove this cable, and replace it with just normal, whatever these are called. I'm really not getting the kind of wattage from my solar panels that I should be, and I'm pretty sure it's because of the BMS, to be honest, and because of these cold welds causing the BMS to reject solar input, or only allow a trickle charge amount for safety. So, but that's all, whatever, right? But anyways, yeah, so that's my very brief introduction. If you have any questions, let me know. I just want this to be a quick video so that I can actually, oh my god, it's already 25 minutes. Anyways, yeah, so let me know what you think. I do appreciate the comments and, you know, criticisms. They do help me produce a better product. Like, technically this Powerwall, like, is the fruits that were bared from all the other previous videos over the last few years of people critiquing my old designs. So I really appreciate the comments. There's always issues, right? These are Powerwalls, but you know, people like us, we understand the risks and we take them, right? Like, this is drywall, right? This behind here, it's drywall. I got a smoke detector up there. Right there, there's one. And then there was another one over behind me, and there's a fire extinguisher there. One idea that I was talking to my neighbor, and I got this genius idea in my head to have one of those weird welding coats where you put it on from the front and have oven mitts, so that if there's ever a fire and I happen to be home, I can put on the oven mitts, because it's going to be hot, right? Put on the oven mitts and this welding jacket, and I can go in and I can kind of scoop out the batteries, because they just pop out, you know? So you get oven mitts and stuff, and you can scoop them out and throw them outside, because it's a class C or D fire, right? If anyone knows the exact classification, but I'm pretty sure it's a class C or D fire. It's a self-sustaining fire. So you'll want to get it out of the house. But if you can get the individual batteries out first, that's easier than trying to get the whole wall out, right? Because, because right here, right, there's these bolts. There will be just two. For the new wall, there will just be 2 bolts. You'll still have to unscrew all that shit. And it has wing nuts. The new version will be wing nuts. So it'll be much easier to just, you know, unscrew them and then pull it off. But during a fire, good luck doing that, man. I don't know how many of you have, like, firefighting training, but in the Navy, right, I have, like, an unhealthy amount of firefighter training from the Navy. And then when I was a teenager, my father was working for the volunteer fire department, and he was a training instructor. And I would watch him and watch his videos, because he would have to sit at home getting these training sessions set up. And it was interesting to watch, you know, all this stuff. So I have and I've even been through like 2 or 3 or something real fires, house fires. So, like, actually actively trying to put them out and stuff. Initial, like, first person on the scene type stuff. So I do know what I'm talking about with fires. So, you know, it is a big concern to me, right? When you live through or go through a real fire, like house fire, it does mean a lot more to you. So I do take a lot of precautions, and I do pride myself on it, but that doesn't mean that I know everything. So, I mean, critiques or, you know, ideas are appreciated. I can't implement them half the time, but I mean, they may spawn other ideas that are connected or, you know, slightly the same, but a little bit easier, more feasible for me to do, or for another user to do for their own home. So anyways, I just want to say thanks to all of you, and, you know, the new one looks great, and I just want to say thanks to all of you. And I was talking to Steve the other day. He was there when I was begging for help with the Android app. So, you know, it's nice talking to you again, Steve, and thanks for helping out. And yeah, I'd like to thank all of my viewers for helping me get to this point. I know I haven't been making videos in the past year, but I mean, let's be honest, the past year has not been a good year. It has not been a good year, so I needed to focus on other things. And yeah, so I hope all of you are doing good and, you know, safe and secure, but things are gonna get a lot worse. So just be careful, be cautious, don't get caught up in the anger, rage, or the hate. But I hope you're all doing well, and have a great week, guys. All right, bye.